Initializing audio transmission. Stand by. Loading Omnus Chronicles podcast. Accessing Starfleet database. Encryption level, Omega 1. Transmission link established. Engaging subspace frequency. Welcome, listener. Prepare for an auditory voyage beyond space and time. The Omnus Chronicles begins now.
Hello everybody! Hope you are doing well and having a wonderful day. Welcome to the very first of its kind, well, not first of its kind, but first of its kind for us, Omnus Chronicles podcast live. We are live on TikTok and we are live on YouTube, and this is a podcast where us, the crew of the I.S.S. Omnus, just get together, talk for the sake of it about anything Star Trek related. We have fun. We joke around. We talk about basically anything. I am the commanding officer of the Omnus. My name is Karen Burnett, and unfortunately, the rest of our crew had some scheduling problems, I guess is the best way to call it. So you are just stuck with myself and the second officer. Yes, second officer. And I will hand it over to him and he can tell you what we're going to talk about. If you want to jump in at any point, whether it's with a comment, you're welcome to do so, obviously, and I will relay the messages.
Thank you very much, Captain. So, welcome everybody. To those of you who haven't been here before, we've sort of got a new-ish layout to things, where we have a recommended Trek, where we recommend somebody in the Trek universe who we think that you would quite enjoy. We have a review of an episode or a movie or something like that, that we can all join in us on, and then we have a main topic of conversation, which today is what storylines would you like to see continue that didn't? So, because of the topic that we're doing today, I will put a spoiler alert in there for anybody who hasn't seen certain episodes. So if you hear us talk about episodes or movies or anything like that you haven't seen, just give us a wee mute for a couple of minutes and then pop back in. And yeah, awesome. So on recommended Trek today, we have a good friend of ours, actually, Robert. Now, he is the commander of the Scottish Klingon garrison, and he also runs a Scots Klingon podcast, as it's called. And this podcast for crew members of different Klingon fan groups and ships across Scotland and other regions to talk about their love of Star Trek, but with a main focus on Klingons as well. They do talk about other different sci-fi stuff and all that, but it's mainly around the whole Star Trek and Klingon universe. So if you were to try out Scott's Klingon podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, you should be able to find him and go and say hello, listen to the podcast. He is not only an interesting guy to sit and listen to and talk about with all the guests he's got on, but he's also a really nice bloke. So it's yeah, great to recommend him, and a great one for you to go and listen to. For a review for this week, we will be doing Best of Both Worlds. So that is sort of like a movie thing because it's a two-parter.
Sorry, we're having a technical difficulty at the moment. Just give me a second.
Okay, no problem.
I think we're back. Yes, we are back.
Awesome. So our review this week will be Best of Both Worlds, parts 1 and 2. Yeah, Captain, what was your first experience with Best of Both Worlds? First time you watched it?
Don't hate me. I don't think I've seen it.
Have you not? Right,
Um,
with Locutus of Borg.
I don't know. You're gonna have to jog my memory. I
Right, it's the
haven't
one.
watched a Star Trek episode for a while, and most of them I watched when I was little. So, this
Not a
is
problem.
generally why we have other members of our crew on board, or other people just talking, because I just moderate it, which is weird for a commanding officer of a star of a ship, but it is what it is. So if you can jog my memory, then I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'll give a rough overview of the episode. So it's the end of season 3, last season of last episode of season 3, first episode of season 4, where following on from Q sending the Enterprise in an earlier episode out into a far region of the galaxy and made their first contact with the Borg. This is where the Borg actually come in and try and get to Earth. So Sector 001 is their aim. And the episode starts off with things happening in outlying Federation colonies, them disappearing, losing contact, that sort of thing. And the Borg is suspected. Then they bring on Commander Shelby, who's a Borg expert from Starfleet headquarters. And she boards Enterprise, and they do an investigation to try and find out if it is the Borg, where they are, and what their motives are. During this, Captain Picard is abducted by the Borg, and he is assimilated and given the designation Locutus of Borg.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah, and he's basically he leads the attack on Earth. First of all at Bull 359, and then straight through to Sector 001, where we have Earth. This episode, I have actually written a wee story about
Ooh.
in our latest
Newsletter?
Yeah, I can't remember the name there. In their newsletter, the Galaxy Chronicles, and basically about how this episode sort of brought my family together in a sense and got us all interested in Star Trek. It was absolutely brilliant. It is a rough sort of outline of. I was watching the first episode. My dad wanted to be on the television. I was watching it on, so I went to watch it in the living room, and everyone was there. Everyone ended up congregating in the living room watching the episode. And in the beginning, they were like, "Oh no, there's Star Trek crap again." And then at the end of the episode, they were like, "Oh my god, when's the next episode? I want to know what's going to happen next."
No, that makes sense.
and everybody was into Star Trek from then on in. So it was one of these episodes where it brought the Borg as an antagonist to the forefront of the storyline. Something that had been looming in the background.
Yeah.
And again, this takes us on to our main topic again, or sort of leads into our main topic. Not quite yet, but of storylines that didn't continue, because this one did, and the Borg became quite a large piece of Star Trek lore.
Yeah. Well, now that I know the episodes, I just don't know the names as well as you. So now that you've explained it to me, I know what it is. And actually, honestly, weirdly enough, my favorite part of those was encountering the Borg, seeing the Borg, what they were like, and seeing Picard get assimilated. As weird as that is, I know people are like, "Oh, that's bad," and it is bad that happened to him. Don't get me wrong, but as you know, and anyone who's ever watched any of our other podcasts know, I have a fascination with the Borg. Yes, they're bad, but what made them bad? So you don't know what made them bad, and that's my thinking about it. I always try and see the good in everyone, even if they assimilate people. But that was my favorite parts, was watching the Borg, seeing them assimilate people. It was sad that people died and how everything happened. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, because if you go back on our YouTube channel or any of the podcasts that we've done previously with, I can't remember which one it is, but yeah, we touched on sort of Borg origins and discussed that amongst the crew, and
That's
it's
something I would
something
love
that I
to
think,
see.
yeah, and everybody agreed with you that everybody'd love to see sort of Borg origin story and see what's going on there.
If you're in the
But
chat, sorry to interrupt you here. If you are in
yeah,
the
no
chat
problem.
and you have an opinion of it, please let us know as well. What was your thoughts on the best of both worlds? Um, Let us know. Obviously, while we're talking, if I see any comments, I will bring them up. But yeah, that's what we're here for, is to interact with you guys as well.
Yep, totally. Now this was a major episode, not only as a season 3 cliffhanger to season 4, but it impacted the world of Star Trek as a whole, and it had a major impact on the main character of Next Generation, being Captain Picard, with him being assimilated. Now, spoiler alert, for anybody who hasn't seen the episode, but he was eventually recaptured by the crew of the Enterprise. Data managed to connect with the hive mind through Picard, or Locutus as it was, and managed to stop the Borg attack.
I remember that.
Yeah, now if you go by a simple thing, such a simple thing as just put them to sleep. Basically, basically doing the regular IT thing of turning it off, but not turning it on again.
They needed rest. They were grumpy. That's maybe what happened, is they needed to rest.
Yeah,
They hadn't had enough
did.
sleep, and he did the right thing.
Yeah, all the way through the Delta Quadrant without a rest. It's it can really get to you. The strain and the stress of intergalactic
Exactly.
travel.
No breaks, just one mission to get there. No stops, no in-betweens. You would get
I
tired
know.
too.
Yeah, even puts a strain on the Borg.
Exactly.
Yeah, with Picard, the reason it had such an impact is not only was the Borg such a foreboding, however you pronounce it, foreboding enemy, but also one particular incident that took place was the Battle of Wolf 359. So, but Wolf 359 is a system close to the Sol system, where Earth is, and that's where the Federation decided to mount their sort of last-ditch defence against the Borg. Now, with Locutus in charge, he knew all the tactics and everything like that, and even if he didn't, I think the Borg would have pretty quickly swept through the Federation.
Oh, yes,
but basically, not many people survived. So that led on to the continuation of Picard's character, who has quite a high level of morality, and having to deal with the fact that he unwittingly was helped in the destruction of thousands upon thousands of people, and killing friends who he knew, and as well as impacting the start of Deep Space Nine, because one of the people who was at the Battle of Wolf 359 was Commander Sisko, whose wife was actually killed on board the starship he was on. So that brought the antagonistic part of him and Sisko not getting on, and it really it made its mark on Star Trek lore and Star Trek history. And I think is the sort of, even if you go through there's pivotal moments in Star Trek, as far as I'm concerned, with like the first episode and the original pilot and stuff like that. But this is one of these pivotal points that if you're a Doctor Who fan, you'd know is like a thing that he says, a specific unchangeable point in time where it's so big, it stretches, its arm stretches out and reaches so many facets of everything going on around it that you can't actually change it or anything like that at all. And that's what made this episode so good. and such a classic one for Star Trek fans all around the world. And I think it's not only did it help get my family into Star Trek, but from what I've read online as well, a lot of people were like on the fence about Star Trek and Next Generation. And I know the first season didn't get off to the best start, but it did get better. But this really solidified people's view, and that Next Generation had sort of taken over the mantle from the original series of, right, now this is a series that can do really good storylines, get you really into it, and you're really interested in the characters and what's going on, what's going to happen next. And it was absolutely brilliant, and one of my favourite episodes.
No, it definitely is mine as well, because of the fact that it was such a intense moment. Like, you never knew, obviously you know now, but when it first came out and everything was happening then and there, you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know who was going to live and who was going to die. And it's one of those really suspenseful episodes where you're sitting there going, no, 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 don't do this, no, 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 no. I know, I vividly remember my mom sitting there going, no, 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 that can't happen, no, 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 and she is not a very big Trekkie fan. And me as I was 8, 9 years old, I was just sitting there laughing at her going, look, that's gonna win, yay! So it was just like all of these things that were happening at once, but it definitely made the rest of it. And like you said, a lot of people say that that's what made them watch the rest of it. So I think it's a good one.
Yeah, and it's because it's sort of moments within it, pivotal moments actually within the episode and stuff like that like people remember, like the Enterprise. I think it was actually Riker rather than Picard telling Worf to contact Starfleet Command, tell them we have engaged the Borg.
Yeah, and I know he's not here. He's busy making dinner for us, but I know that is our XO's favorite line is tell the Federation we've encountered the Borg. He said if you go back in past episodes, you'll see it there as well. He says that always gives him like chills, and he's like, yes, kind of thing, and just because of the intenseness behind it.
Yeah, most definitely. And then the cliffhanger at the end of season 3, where they basically made the decision that they can't let the Borg go any further, and they're going to use their modified deflector beam weapon to try and destroy the Borg ship, even though Picard's still on it.
Yeah.
And Riker tells them to fire, and then it cuts, and it's like, to be continued, and you're like, God damn it, seriously! I want to know what happens next, come on!
Well, you just have to watch.
I know. Then to find out on the beginning of season 4, it's like, yeah, what's going to happen? And then it's like, it just like absorbs the deflector dish, and that's it. And it's a bit of a letdown, to be honest. Yeah, but that does let you know then that because the Locutus comes on, and they know that sets up that, well, Picard knew about the deflector beam, so we know about it. So everything, all of Picard's knowledge is now part of the Borg. Yeah, so that they were that set up a whole new thing of, oh my God, how they're actually going to manage to defeat them.
Yeah.
Then they did with a mission on board the Borg ship to recapture Picard, and then Data to, like I said before, to link into the collective through Picard to be able to stop the Borg was ingenious.
It was.
And yeah, and it really struck home as well. It's like the next episode, season 2 of episode 2 of season 4, which was Family, I think it was called, where Picard went back to La Barre in France, where he was born, to see his brother, and him and his brother didn't get on and stuff like that, and his brother was being a right mean old bastard to him, but deliberately to get him to get so angry that they would fight, and then he would open up because of the release of the energy and stuff like that. And yeah, not ashamed to admit that was really powerful episode. That one really brought a tear to my eye when he was letting the emotions of coming out of him about his experiences, about what happened,
Yeah.
and yeah, but Patrick Stewart being such a brilliant actor, he really done
He
it
makes you
justice,
feel.
and
He hits you right here.
it does indeed. Yes, most definitely. And then I mean that is carried forth to every engagement with the Borg that the Enterprise then has, right up till First Contact as well, which is well, in my opinion anyway, the best Next Generation movie. Uh, so but yes. So all in all, a fantastic piece of Star Trek lore and storytelling. Something that is, it's hard because when people put down newer Trek, 'cause I know our EXO is not a big fan of the newer Trek. It is, yeah, it's hard when you get such brilliant storylines to even bring other storylines on a par with them. So you do feel sometimes that it is a bit of a letdown, but you need to take each episode for what it is, I think. But yeah, definitely right up there with the best of Trek.
Yeah,
Most definitely.
I definitely agree.
Awesome. Right, on to our main topic of tonight, which is story. What storylines would you like to see continue in Star Trek that didn't? Now, the first one I've got, and again, when I mention this, spoiler warnings for anybody who hasn't seen any of these episodes or anything. But the when I thought about this, and I had made a TikTok about it because I was thinking about it, and I got some interaction with people on my TikTok. Not that I'm trying to plug that or anything like that. Check the Bruce on TikTok, you know. Uh, but yeah, the conspiracy, which was I think it was a season 2 episode of Next Generation, where basically aliens had infiltrated Starfleet Command. Now these were what you would call a parasitical. There were small things that they were like scorpion type things that would like enter through the mouth, and they would leave a wee thing at the back of the neck to be able to breathe from. And basically, they took over the mind of the person that they'd infiltrated, and the Enterprise was brought back to home, back to Earth, to because they wanted to infiltrate the flagship of the Federation. To basically get them on board as well, but through different other channels and stuff that had been talked about in previous episodes and stuff like that, they knew something weird was going on, especially with the Admiral, who wasn't quite himself, who was one of Picard's oldest friends. And they managed to subvert the takeover of Starfleet. And the thing is, at the end of the episode, the aliens managed to get a signal out. Now, the Enterprise crew, or Picard and Riker specifically, managed to stop the transmission eventually, but they didn't know how much of it had got out and how far it had actually reached. At the end of the episode, they're having this sort of like scrambled, like communication floating through space, and you never knew whether it actually reached anybody or not. Whether it reached, I mean, they've obviously come from some sort of homeworld, and that's always something that I wanted to see more of, and they never ever seemed to follow up on it. Now, somebody did mention that on my TikTok comments that there was a book written, a DS9 novel that sort of touched on this. I don't know anything about it. I've not read it myself, so I don't know. But that's one of the ones that I would really want to see more of. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that? Remember that one?
No, I don't think I've seen that one. By the
Alright,
sounds
cool.
of it, I don't think I would want to see it with all the like going in the mouth and having a
Yeah.
breathe and no, no,
It's
no, no.
probably the most goriest thing to happen in Star Trek
Yeah.
because the guy that was Commander, I can't remember his name now. He was the guy who was originally sent to sort of put the Enterprise crew on trial a few episodes beforehand,
Mm.
um, under the orders of this admiral, and he obviously couldn't find anything, and he was the sort of leader of them, and when Picard and Riker hit him with their phasers instead of evaporating them, like you would do, he just like totally disintegrate and vanish. He actually exploded, so there you've got this like mangled remains of a sort of half human, half alien thing just sort
Ah.
of in this chair, and it was the sort of most gruesome thing I think Star Trek's ever done. But was also really cool,
It
especially as a
sounds
horror
cool,
fan.
but I'm not much of a gory person. I'll watch it, but it's not for me. Um, I don't know what story I'd want to see more of. Um, to be honest, because I think they did a lot of them quite well. Where they gave you enough information. Obviously, there is always going to be ones that you like more. I'm not going to go down that road again. Um, that you want to see more of, but maybe maybe more storylines in the with like Q and them and stuff. I think would be quite cool.
The
Like,
Q continuum itself.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be cool to learn more about it. I mean, you did sort of get a sort of idea of things in Voyager where basically Janeway had to tell the Q and his female Q partner that they had to have a baby,
mm,
basically because the Q were falling apart and were in civil war because they were sort of like they weren't there was no more of them to come basically.
yeah.
Uh, And so that touched on it a bit, and that was really, really good. Everybody loved that episode. It was very well received, and myself included. And that would be brilliant to see more of the Q Continuum and what goes on there.
Like a baby
Um,
Q and what baby Q would do, and you never know.
yeah, accidentally turn you inside out because you didn't feed him on time.
Or you played peekaboo and he didn't like it, so he sent you away somewhere.
Yeah, you do peekaboo cover, open your hands, and then there's the light. You're all of a sudden somewhere else. You don't know where the hell you are.
I could see
That
that
would be funny.
happening.
Next one I think is they could have done, and again, big spoilers for this if you haven't seen season 3 of Picard. But they could have done so much better with Moriarty. Now, Professor Moriarty, for those of you who don't know, was developed in the holodeck to as a rival for someone who could beat Data,
Yeah.
a Sherlock Holmes style mystery.
But that was
Now,
in the
in
next
doing this,
generation.
yeah, that was the next generation, yeah. So then they were asking the computer to create somebody who'd be equal to and could beat Data. They unwittingly got the computer to create a sort of sentient holodeck
Moriarty.
character who, over the course of that episode and a subsequent episode, had sort of like taken over control and realised who he was in the world that he was in, and that he was just a holodeck character, but he was more than that. It was sort of like the Doctor from Voyager
Yeah.
in that respect. So at the end of the last episode that he was in the Next Generation, they had built a holodeck within a sort of memory core,
Oh
so he
yes, I
could live out
remember
his
that.
life. Yeah, and that's how that episode had finished.
Mm.
So they made him think that him and his wife were walking out of the holodeck and getting a shuttlecraft and going away. It was
Yeah.
actually all happening as
In the
part,
holiday.
and they were going to leave. They were going to leave that running. Now that was the end that that was the last we'd ever seen of Moriarty until the trailer for season 3 of Picard, when Moriarty appeared, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, what are they going to do with Moriarty? This is going to be brilliant," because he was such a great character, such a lovable character. They'd never done anything else with, and as well as being quite evil and self-serving and malevolent in a way, he was also a very relatable character, so people really got into it and got into what he was doing. All to find out that in season 3, Section 31 had got a hold of him and just made him the really strong, powerful AI security system on board one of their space stations that was like holding lots of secrets. And it was quite easy to actually get past him in the end. When Riker and Picard managed to do it, and I was like, man, I'm so disappointed. I know, because they could have done so much with him, and his character's brilliant. The actor who they got to play him, can't remember his name right now, but he was brilliant as well. Everything about him was fantastic, and that's as brilliant as season 3 of Picard. Of what I thought season 3 of Picard, is my opinion. They just never. They should. Yeah, they could have done much more with him, and they just never. And it was just so disappointing. He was such a great character. It was just, it was quite disappointing to see that.
So in other words, if you're like me and you haven't seen that episode, then Moriarty lived out his life in the Enterprise, and that's just it. That's how I'm going to remember it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, So that's sort of the best way to remember him, to be honest.
I will do that then.
The next one is something that they delved quite deep into in Star Trek Enterprise, but you never really heard more of them in any other iteration of Star Trek, which were the Xindi. Now, for people who don't remember, the Xindi were a race who were told, a race combining up of what, 4 or 5. There was the primates, the arboreals, the aquatics, the insectoids, and the avians, but the avians were extinct by Enterprise time, Captain Archer.
Yeah.
And they were basically told from a figure from the future, from the sphere builders, as they were called, that Earth would lead to their destruction. But what that was is actually that Earth was... is that the Xindi were pivotal in helping humans in the Federation to fight off these sphere builders in the future. So they wanted to get the Xindi to destroy humanity, basically, through this super weapon. And now there was season 3, I think it was, of Star Trek Enterprise, was pretty much all about that, of them travelling through to this weird part of space that the spheres were they created, because the sphere builders were trying to change space to be inhabitable for them, because currently our universe wasn't. So they were from an alternate universe. So this whole thing of because usually when you see like humans, Klingons, Ferengi, Denobulans, whoever it is, so there's always just one species that's grown up or evolved on a planet that's been the sort of major species. Now that could have been different on Earth, because there were different members of Homo sapien family, genus, but it's never really been explored in Star Trek. The most we ever got was the fact that the split off between Vulcans and Romulans at some point in their past. But they were the sort of same species, and then they split up and they evolved separately from there. So the fact that they had so many different species of sentient being evolving together on a planet and being able to coexist with each other was a really interesting storyline that they never really done much with. I mean, there was the whole, like I said, Enterprise really delved into it, and you got to know the background of them and stuff like that. But I would love to have known, to explored more of the Xindi, and in that, because like, yeah, I mean, to think that another uh, species other than Homo sapiens on Earth could have evolved and stuff like that,
Yeah,
it is absolutely mental.
it is.
And to explore that in another facet from another species would be, or group of species would be absolutely brilliant. And I think did you like the Zindi from Enterprise?
I don't remember them.
All right. Yeah, they were really good. The primates, the arboreals, and the aquatics.
It sounds familiar, but off the top of my head, I don't really remember them. If you show me a picture, I might go, oh yes, I know that.
We're all, maybe I'm missing one actually, because there's the primates, arboreals, and aquatics, and they're sort of more of sort of the primates and the arboreals are more sort of primate-esque things. The aquatics were animals who lived in the sea but had evolved intelligence. Then there was the avians; they were extinct, so I presume they were some sort of flight species with flight, natural flight ability.
Yeah.
And then the insectoids, but I think the insectoids, and there was I don't know if the thingies were a part of them. I think the insectoids, and then there was the other ones, I can't remember now. That's going to annoy me, because there was insectoids were like bee-like type things, but then there was sort of like lizard type people as well.
Okay.
And yeah, they would be great to explore, and the dynamic of them all evolving on the same planet. I mean, knowing how humans in the past have differentiated from our own species based on the colour of your skin, your religion, or whatever, and how people react in fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Is how being able to explore that with a different actual species who looked very different and had very different ways of being. A sentient being would have been great to explore, which I think they never really touched on anymore anybody else, and I think that'd be great to go back to.
Definitely. As little as I know about it, it does sound interesting, and they definitely did miss an opportunity there. But you never know, maybe they do it in the future.
Yeah, I mean, Enterprise also, I think it was Enterprise, also experienced it. They touched on it again on one other planet. I'm just sort of remembering this in the back of my brain. It's coming forward. And there was a planet they went to, and there was some sort of disease or something like that. But there was there's another primate species, a humanoid species, but they were not as intelligent. But it turned out that was just because they weren't given the option to be educated in the same way and stuff like that, and so they were looked at as an inferior sort of slave species sort of thing. Yeah. I think that was Enterprise who delved into that, but that was just one episode, and yeah, that would have been really cool.
Definitely.
Yeah. Another thing, one of my not so favourites, and I don't have many not particularly favourites.
I was about to say, you don't have many of those.
Yeah, when it comes to Star Trek. But I was never a major fan of the Mirror Universe. But I know that was a big thing for a lot of people who really liked it. And exploring that more, I think, would be really cool.
It might change your mind.
Yeah, it could do. They'd need to do it in some sort of way that made it Star Trek relatable, though. Because that's the thing. The whole thing about Star Trek is that humans have come together in peace and harmony, and Earth is a paradise where there is no war or famine or greed or anything like that going on. Everybody just lives in harmony with one another and is respectful of each other, which gives Star Trek something that no other sci-fi franchise has, because everything else seems to be quite dystopian.
Yeah, that is true.
And that's one of the things that's always attracted me to Star Trek, because it does offer when you're watching TV series, myself anyway, I like to have it's an escapism from my life a bit. know what I mean? Because life can get too much sometimes, and you just like, I
Yeah.
need a wee bit of escape.
You don't want to watch
And
something
it's,
that's too real.
yeah, It's like, so when you're escaping into a universe that's made it good, and that humans have actually come together and solved all their problems, was very, very appealing to me. Always has been and still is. But in saying that, the mirror universe was to see how humans would act in a different way, and knowing what we know about the mirror universe, about the Terran Empire coming up and being quite powerful, but then humans again being that being torn down, and the humans became subjugated, as we've seen in DS9.
Yeah.
But then we've seen different again in Picard. But that never made any. It didn't know how to put this. It didn't make any reference to the precise mirror universe, or whether it was just an alternate universe. We don't know. I don't know if that one can be actually sort of like put in canon along with the mirror universe stuff. But what we do know, I mean, it's very interesting to get into, and they did delve into it more in the Discovery with Philippa Georgiou, the Empress, and stuff. So yeah, that was really cool. Did you quite like the alternate mirror universe episodes?
I did. I thought it was a different spin on things. But I would like to see more of it, because they could have done so much more. And it is nice to see that, yes, there is the one side that is peace and harmony, but there is the alternate that goes with it, and to see what actually happened with it was quite interesting.
Yeah, very cool. Um, another one on my list. I've got a few to go through. Is although they touched more on it in Deep Space Nine, Alexander Roshenko, Worf's son, they didn't do enough with him, and I think he is a great segue into a Klingon-based Star Trek series,
Yes.
which would be awesome. And everybody that I don't know anybody that would not love to see a Klingon-based series. And I think Alexander Roshenko being the sort of into that universe, and seeing it from his eyes, and how he develops into from what he was being brought up as a sort of only half Klingon in the ways of the Federation, to then deciding to go and explore his Klingon heritage and stuff like that, I think would be absolutely brilliant.
I
That'd be
definitely
really, really
agree.
cool.
Hands down, I agree
Yeah.
that could be quite interesting to see. Quite cool.
Yeah, and I mean, who doesn't like Klingons? Klingons are brilliant.
They're awesome.
Absolutely fantastic. The next one that I'd quite like to see, just because it would help to answer some questions, would be the Federation Cardassian War. Now, what we know of it, and Miles O'Brien was a big part of that, because he fought in the war, and he was our sort of major link into a character being involved in that side of things. The thing that never ever sat right with me is that in the Next Generation timeline, the Federation is so much more advanced than the Cardassians in terms of the power and of their weapons and technology and stuff like that. As you can see, I mean, the Enterprise can stand up to multiple Galar class warbirds, or vessels. Sorry, I don't know if they're warbirds. The Galar class Cardassian ships, and not really worry too much. Yet there was this war that went on for like, what's it, 5-6 years or whatever it was.
Something like that.
So I'd like to see them delve into that more. I mean, I know there must be more to it. I mean, because another one on my list, which would enjoy me, that would be the Cardassian occupation of Bajor and stuff that went on there, and I'd like to see that from a sort of major Kira rebel stance about them fighting back against their Cardassian occupiers.
Yeah.
Which I think would be another great story to go into. It'd be really, really cool.
It definitely would. There's a lot of wars and battles and stuff that we know a little bit about, but not a lot of detail, so it is something that they could look into at some point.
Yeah, and I mean, two wars or battles that we'd love to see more of. Well, I would personally anyway. Would be one, the Battle of Kittimer, where Worf's family was killed. Mog and his rest of his family were killed.
Yeah.
So Worf was actually adopted in and by a Federation, the Rozhenko's Federation family. And the Battle of Narendra 3, where the Enterprise C was destroyed, protecting the Klingons against multiple Romulan warbirds, and what led to the Klingon Federation accords, the alliance that they now have, and the peace that, I mean, it was yesterday's Enterprise in Next Generation, which explored with Enterprise C coming through a time rift. The Klingons and Federation never managed to broker peace because of that one instant. That one instance made the Klingons realise that humans. Oh, wait a minute. There may be a wee bit more to them than we thought, because they were willing to sacrifice their entire crew and their lives to protect the Klingons. So, and that's what started the peace process.
Yeah.
So, exploring that, as you say, there's loads of battles and stuff like that would be really cool. Even the Wolf 359 one, and stuff like that we've mentioned previously.
Definitely.
But, to move away from battles, because I've only got a couple more to go through, the one thing that really annoyed me about Star Trek Enterprise was
the theme song. Everyone hates the theme song.
It's been a long time since I've
it.
heard the theme song.
I like it.
But no, I thought it was all right, actually. I didn't like it to start with, but it grew on me. Must admit, it really grew on me. But when they cancelled Enterprise early, and they never got to show the starting of the Federation, which was going to be in the next season of Enterprise. So season 5 was going to be based around the NX starship. Enterprise would have got a refit to include a secondary hull. They would have started the formation of the Federation, which is obviously the 4 founding members, the humans, Vulcans, the
I want to say Romulans,
humans,
but I'm going to be wrong. Probably.
No, human, Vulcans, Tellarites, and Andorians. That was
it.
With the 4 founding members of the Federation. And that would have been brilliant to see, whereas we just got a wee bitey bit in the very last episode of Enterprise, which I'm not going to get into. Everybody who has followed these podcasts know that I don't have much bad to say about Star Trek, but the last episode of Enterprise is horrendous, and nobody should ever watch it because it ruins Enterprise altogether, which I thought was a really, really good show.
So just finish watching it, the episode before the last one, and then leave it at that. That's how it ends.
Pretty much, yeah.
Even if it doesn't end.
Yeah, even though it doesn't end, it doesn't give you any conclusions or anything like that, but that's
it ends on a cliffhanger, how's that?
Yeah. What happens next? Oh, nobody knows. Because seriously, you're better making it up in your own head than the shite they came up with. The last one is, I don't know if you remember an episode of Voyager where Captain Janeway went into Tuvok's mind to help him with some sort of mental thing that he was happening with, and it took him to a time where he was on board the I.S.S. Excelsior under the command of Captain Sulu.
Yeah.
And there was actually quite a lot of talk and some development, as far as I'm aware, into making a new Star Trek series around Captain Sulu and the I.S.S. Excelsior. And I think that would have been great, because as much as we loved all the members of the original NCC 1701 Enterprise all staying together,
do we?
It was not the most believable, and the fact
Yeah.
that Sulu pissed off and became a captain of another ship is probably the most believable thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to see more around that and him, because his character was brilliant and never explored enough.
Yeah.
In fact, all of the characters, other than, I mean, obviously Spock and Kirk, you got a
They
lot
were the
of
main
in-depth.
focus.
Yeah, and same with Dr. McCoy, because he was involved with them quite a lot,
Yeah.
and you did get a lot of background to him in the original series, mostly around love interests and stuff like that. But you did get some. But yeah, the rest of the crew was never really. The rest of the main crew was never really explored too much, and it'd be great to see what happened with them.
Yeah.
And the fact that they went on now and they had Picard Series 3. They had the person sending out the distress call or the warning call to stay away from Earth when the big thing was happening at the end of Picard season 3 was Anton Chekhov, which was Chekhov's son, but it was also a nod to Anton. I remember his name, the guy that played Chekhov in the 2009
Oh, the guy who
series,
passed away.
the guy passed away. Yeah, so it was not to him. So they used his first name, Anton, and then used the Chekhov. So that was meant to be Chekhov's son, which was a really cool nod to him, which was brilliant. Star Trek always good at giving a nod to people who have passed or people who have things have happened to them and stuff like that. And it's all been really, really good. Yeah,
that's true.
But yeah, that's it for the main topic of what I'd like to see. That's I know that I've probably went on a wee bit too much, as I tend to do when it comes to Star Trek. But yes. Did you have any more that you would like to see or anything?
Nope. Not that I can think of right now. You've had time to prepare. And I know I had time to prepare, but I was busy with other things. But off the top of my head, those are the only ones I could think of.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well then, the only thing we've got left is back to you, Captain, for any crew updates or anything like that, or giving out a fantastic motivational speech on how everyone that is watching and listening should be joining the Omnus.
Yes. So
I mean, I'm looking for War and Peace type speech here.
I'll try. And I actually know what that means now, so I will deliver on that, because I didn't know what that was. But crew updates, I don't think we have that many at the moment, because unfortunately us as a crew, everyone's been going through a bit of a hard time at the moment, so finding time to get together has been a bit tricky for us. But hopefully with May, it's like almost halfway through the year, but hopefully we can actually become a bit more active again and do a bit more and have that Omnus spirit back in us. And if it means that we need to do an Omnus con again to get that spirit back, then so be it. But
that would be awesome.
No, we definitely will do one. I have plans.
I must admit, I was very trepidatious, or whatever you call it, of doing it, just because you asked me to do quite a lot of things.
Yeah. No,
and then I was like, okay.
This time I will not double book myself, I promise.
I really enjoyed it. I had a great time, I must admit.
Okay, fine. This time I will triple book myself then, and you can do everything.
Because it was just a case of I was like, right, I've got to interview these people, and thankfully you came up with most of the questions for us. But then I just and asking those questions, I was just like, oh, okay then. Well, I don't know really about anybody else, but I want to know more about this, so I'm just going to ask us anyway.
It's nice that we
were like, I thought it was only meant to be on here for an hour.
Yeah, but it's also nice that we had people from various different regions and fleets and stuff. And obviously, I think it might be a bit more tricky this year, given the fact that we're not part of SFI anymore. But maybe we can have an OmnusCon for the independent ships and go that way.
Awesome, yeah.
But obviously we'll see
I know
how that goes.
There's a load of independent ships out there, and the commanding officer of this Klingon garrison who was involved last time had said he'd love to do it again. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure we can find them. But aside from that, I'm sure we'll have some more fun playing games together, and whether we stream it, which we might do, we'll stream some Star Trekky games. We'll also stream some scary games, because they're fun for us all to play, and you can see the crew get scared and jump. And yeah, no, we do have some things that I'm planning on doing. But aside from that, if you do want to join us, you are welcome to do so. If you are a member of a different fan club and you are registered with SFI, which is Starfleet International, you are still welcome to join us. You are allowed to be part of a SFI fleet and part of us. And we're a bunch of friendly people. We mostly meet online because we have members from England, Scotland, South Africa, the Netherlands, Germany, and South Africa. I forgot the one I'm originally from. Shame on me. So yeah, we're all online playing games, having fun, and we have a newsletter, which I'm very proud of because it's been redone by Hugh and Kieran, and they've done an amazing job with it. And I'm assuming the next one will come out in June. I don't know. We will see how that goes and how often we do those. But aside from that, I think that's all the updates that I have.
Thank you very much. The only thing I have left to say is live long and prosper. Take care of yourselves. Look after yourselves. I know times are not brilliant at the moment in all different places around the world and stuff. But yeah, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and yeah, stay groovy.
Bye.
I'll see you all next time. Bye.